Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, where we encourage you to stick to the basics. I'm one of your co-hosts, TV, aka TV on basketball, alongside my co-host Jay, aka the Knockdown Jay. How's it going, my guy?
It's going good, man. It's been about a week since we got to talk ball, but a lot is happening at a time, so I guess we got a lot to talk about too.
Yes, it was a weird week in basketball last week. We got the in-season tournament going on. We had teams play two days in the week, and then we had the complete Sunday off. It was a weird week of basketball, but the in-season tournament was pretty fire. We're gonna be talking about that a little bit later, and we're gonna begin, of course, back to some regular season ball, which we're gonna talk about as well because we're basically a quarter into the season, so we have a cool little segment on that, and it's gonna be a great episode as well. Of course, we have the quiz, we have the draft as well. It's gonna be a damn good episode. But before we get into this episode, I do have to plug our links. Make sure you follow our individual links at TV on Basketball, at the Knockdown J, down in the description down below. If you, in terms of the Hit Your Free Throws pod, remember to follow us on TikTok and Instagram for the best daily NBA content, where you get the clips, you get the weekly segments, and all that stuff. That's where you find the best daily NBA content. If you're a new to member, to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. And if you're listening to any of this podcast network, Spotify, or Apple, just support yourself and support us in any way possible. We highly, highly appreciate it. Jay, I would love to talk some basketball right now, but we have some business to take care of because, as you know, Jay lost the month of November by the skin of his teeth, and he had to do a certain punishment. Now this month might go but different. I'm down by seven games again, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But Jay has to pay off his punishment from last month, and he honestly listened to a good bunch of the Kids Bob Christmas album. Jay, how'd you feel about it coming out of it? Are you more in the Christmas spirit?
I don't know about more into Christmas spirit, TV, but let me tell you, as the first real forfeit of the NBA Daily Picks Challenge this season, this is definitely not the most fun way to start. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
This is one of those forfeits that will make me become a better by the day.
Hey man, I from just doing this whole pre-show stuff, just talking it out, man. The fact that the way that you were talking about it beforehand made me realize, oh man, if I end up losing this, I don't know what the heck my forfeit's gonna end up being. So I have to lock in. I'm down 7 games right now, so gotta lock in, gotta bounce back. But Jay, we're gonna use this small time in the pod to kind of get your thoughts on it. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions regarding this so-called Christmas album. What would be your favorite track on this album?
Okay, just a little context for everybody. This is the Kids Bop Christmas album 2023 edition. TV sent it to me via YouTube. I don't know if you can get it anywhere else. I don't even know if I'm suggesting you listen to it anywhere else. But this thing is 53 tracks deep. Now, I listened to it at work. I got about 40 tracks, give or take, TV, right? About 40 tracks deep throughout all of it. So I can't say I went the full 56. I don't think that's cheating, but I mean, hey, look, I tried my best. And of the 40-something songs, I gotta go with the song that's just it's just a classic no matter what, man. I think at the end of the day, I mean, there's a few that are considered classics, right? But we're gonna go with the good old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as the one that we can kind of scapegoat with, right? You know, children singing a song like that, you're used to listening to children singing on the actual Christmas special itself, so it didn't feel too out of place. It was probably one of the more normal songs you could listen to if you had to listen to a 40-song Christmas album. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at this album right now. There is a wide variety. You got some current Christmas songs. You got some songs from Frozen and all that. My man had to go through it listening to this. Rudolph, a classic though, a classic. Jay, you got your best. What do you got for the worst?
The worst is Feliz Navidad, and it's not close. It's not close. It's not. Listen to me, guys. It's not Close. In regular universe, this song is probably super fire to some people to listen to as like a song you hear while you're passing through the mall or you're in like some kind of little like department store and they got it blaring on the freaking sound speakers. Whatever. When this is a song going for 3 minutes straight with little children saying the same 2 words in your ear for 90% of the song, you feel as though you could have just learned a new language in the span of a 3-minute song. It's oh my God, it's brutal. I don't think Feliz Navidad is one of those songs that's already relatively big for the fact that it's catchy, but this is one of those where like it just wasn't hitting. It just wasn't hitting.
No.
It wasn't hitting at all. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh man, I'm looking at it. It's like track number like 50 or something. You're probably already in a bad mood already trying to listen to this, and then that song comes on. Oh, bro, that's tough. That's tough. But Jay, to close things all out, give us your overall thoughts on the album and give us like a Fantano style, a light 4, like strong 5 sort of type of review. Let's see what you got.
Okay, so I have to give them a lot of respect because at the end of the day, they did cover all their bases. As TV mentioned, basically, if you have a Christmas song in mind, they did it. 12 Days of Christmas, Blue Christmas, Frosty the Snowman. I mentioned Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer earlier. Personally, dude, I got all the way to the song I want a hippopotamus for Christmas, and that's where I had to tap out because I just couldn't get with it, honestly. It was just one of those things where like just hearing a bunch of children ask for unrealistic items, it was one of those things where I had to slide out of there. Plus, it was not bopping. It was not bopping at all. But on the strength of the attempt, as a respect to the children, and to the respect of the grind, because 53 tracks is still a lot of songs, even if they all are covers. Yeah, I'm gonna give them like a mid-6. I'm gonna give them like a mid-6.
Oh damn!
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a mid-6.
Oh, you know what? That's even stronger than I thought. I swear, Fantano like rated like To Pimp a Butterfly like something lower than that. I don't know, man. I think he rated the last Drake album even lower than that. So you know what? A mid-6 is kind of solid for that. We're not gonna post the link, but man, Jay, thank you for doing this. There's gonna be a quick video that he's probably gonna post end up on the TikTok too. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah,
I'll post this clip, and for anybody who's listening to this, basically be on the lookout as an attachment to this forfeit to make it fair, because I have to make sure that the first forfeit is a fair forfeit. So not only are you guys gonna get this clip of my good old 2-minute rundown of the Kids Bop Christmas album, but I also am going to post every Daily Picks Challenge video moving forward with one of the songs featured on the album, just to let it all soak in. Maybe you guys can enjoy it with me. Maybe you guys can give you guys Anthony Fantano ratings at the end of the month when it's all over, and hopefully we all are still sane.
100%. Thank you for doing that. And yes, that's what we have for December. Let's see what happens in January. I'm down right now, so I need to pick my
I gotta win this one, bro.
Especially in the new year, there's gonna be some stuff we gotta do. But yeah, let's move past that and let's talk some actual basketball. And of course, like we mentioned beforehand, we went to the in-season tournament. We're not gonna go through each game or whatever, but we are gonna give our overall thoughts on it. Jay, I'm gonna throw this over to you. Was this in-season tournament a success in your eyes?
Yes, this in-season tournament was worth every second of them putting it together up until this point. This is something that I feel like is always needed to be installed in the NBA in some way, shape, or form. But the issue we've always come down to was whether or not people care, right? Now, the question will be after the inaugural, because, the first one is always the good one. That's the honeymoon phase, right? The idea that the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James, be the first champion he's one of the best players in NBA history, right? Playing at an insane level still even at his age. And he was legitimately one of the best players throughout this tournament as the Lakers went on an undefeated run to win the championship. The main thing is just going to be to continue this trend of being able to build on not only people caring, but taking away certain nuggets from the way that this tourney went, right? Like one of the biggest complaints that came out after the tournament came over, some believed the $500,000 bounty at the end, maybe it's not enough money. Maybe there's a different kind of implication that needs to be there at the end. Is it something more playoff oriented? Is there something bigger than that can make it matter even more? There's other people, mainly on the player aspect of things, that says we don't like the point differential aspect of it, right? It puts a real strain on the competitive aspect because you got teams shooting to blow teams out by 30 and 40, and it creates a lot of tension, let's say, on the court, right? There's a lot of different things, even the actual courts themselves, right? There was a lot of issues and complaints coming up about the structure of the courts, the way the courts looked in contrast with the ball, a bunch of different things that kept coming up as potential issues. There's a lot to learn from this first opportunity with the in-season tournament, but you cannot tell me that we didn't get competitive basketball, that we didn't see the rise of some really interesting players, and that we didn't get a good month plus of like watchable basketball worth tuning into beyond them just being viewed as regular basketball games. And at the end of the day, that's all its job was supposed to be. So job done, mission accomplished. I mean, you have to give it its respect. I know I was one of the biggest skeptics, but I got to be one of his biggest supporters after year one at least.
100%, man, especially with this like whole tournament style aspect here that we had in the last week. There's just like so much good things about it. And sure, there were complaints about the court. There were complaints about the rules and stuff. But this is what happens when you create something. It's not going to be perfect the first time around. They're going to work around the edges. They're going to improve it in some ways, take away some aspects in other ways. But they made it talked about. They made it newsworthy. Yeah. Even like when you look at the courts and the jerseys, they had to make a way to make this have a different feel, to give it a different atmosphere. And they did exactly that, whether you liked it or not. I mean, some of those courts are ugly as heck, man. But I mean, but still, it made it talk about. It made it so when you turned on to basketball, you saw that weird ass court. You're gonna be like, oh, this is something different here. Like this is not just a regular NBA season game. So a lot of things they did right, and then they're just gonna work around the edges to improve that. And then when you look at the tournament, like in the whole thing about the tournament, you like as Adam Silver, when you look at the teams competing in this final eight, you really couldn't ask for much better because you had a good mix of the big markets. You got the Knicks, you had the Celtics, you had the Lakers, and then you had some of like the good young teams on the rise. So you have like kind of two contrasting styles. So fans of all markets feel like, you know what, this is something to be invested in because we want to see, David versus Goliath matchups. We want to see, everyone was freaking rooting for the Pacers to win in that Saturday night game. So when you take all those aspects into it, us being invested in December basketball, players being competitive in November, December basketball, it turned out to be perfect. In my opinion, I think like this could have worked out any better for the league, even especially looking at that final, that freaking Pacers-Lakers final. You have one of the biggest markets, one of the biggest stars in the league, in LeBron James, leading the way for the Lakers, taking on one of the league's rising stars, in Tyrese Haliburton, who really made a name for himself in this tournament, going up against him, everyone trying to root for that. But at the end of the day, I think everything kind of worked out the way it is. Some people are calling this rigged because it's something that the Lakers kind of won on the first go around. But I honestly think in terms of like the basketball we got and like the whole aspect in general, it's something to work upon, but I think it couldn't have gotten much better than this.
Yeah, I think another thing is you have to look at the way it ended and put a lot of stuff in perspective, right? I think one of the most important things to take away from this tournament is the way they lined it up. It still works out in a really good way, right? December being midway through and this tournament being over, that gave us a strong month and a half of competitive basketball. Every game has mattered throughout that time frame in terms of the actual standings in the meantime. So nobody can drop a game, let a game go, rest for any unnecessary reason just because, we feel like we're out of it in terms of the tourney. And then you look at it, TV, later on this week, a lot of those guys who got signed in free agency become available as trade pieces. Now that changes the perspective because now we transition our way from talking about the in-season tournament to now talking about trade scenarios much, much more frequently. And everybody loves trade season, right? So that's one of the things that then we roll over into trade season and the end of the month. into the new year with the Christmas games and the New Year's Day games. Always very attractive situations for the NBA towards this time of the year. Now, the biggest question is going to be the dog days aspect of the NBA. Now, this little mid-period between about February, March-ish, right, is where things get a little tricky, right? Because there's the aspect of the play-in tournament that now incentivizes teams that are in 9th and 10th to still play their hardest because they have an opportunity to still make the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
But we all know how this goes, especially coming off an early portion of the season with so much competition. How will that affect the latter portion of the year when every team is going to make a playoff push? There's a lot of guys that were lost due to injury in the early portion of this year, which means we could be getting a lot of guys back. But what does that mean for some of the guys that took the grueling portion of the year already? There's a lot of questions still left for the rest of this season, but I think that they organized it in a way where every single portion of the season has a notable talking point. The beginning is the play-in tournament. The middle portion is trade season and
All-Star
weekend, all of that stuff. Later on after that, it's the post-All-Star break push towards the postseason with the play-in tournament. And then, of course, the playoffs itself. You've now given us 4 quarters of a season with watchable basketball. And I think at the end of the day, that's what matters more than anything. I think they were able to nail it. There's still a couple of things that can be touched on, but that's a really great way to kick off the year. I just hope it plays out the way it's projected to be.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Like you mentioned earlier, I think just this whole idea about just having these 4 different quarters to the season where you have each portion, again, there's a big talking point. It's just like a perfect idea for the in-season, like a perfect placement for the in-season tournament at first, but just like in general, just like having like everything kind of like work out that way. So yeah, I do agree with you in that aspect. But before we move on, Jay, I've seen this question asked a lot, especially post IST. We got to improve from this. It's not we're not going to change. Of course, there's going to be some changes moving on to it. And there was an ESPN report literally during the middle of this recording that said the NBA might incentivize teams to even play harder for this tournament because it will guarantee them a playoff spot. So I don't know if you want to go with that. That could be a whole topic, within itself. But we'll stick with this. Jay, if there's one thing that you would either add, that you would add to this tournament, some sort of changes you would do, what would you do it to make it either more competitive or just a better viewing experience?
I think that it has to have some kind of playoff implications. I do think that becoming a playoff lock is a little crazy because it's just so early in the year to be giving somebody a postseason position like that. But I do think that there is an aspect of if you win the play-in tournament and it's weird because I don't even want to say if you win the in-season tournament and you make the play-in tournament rather than having to play in a game, you would just be automatically bumped to the 6th seed. But that would only work for a team that's at the bottom, right? For example, the Lakers are 5th right now in the Western Conference. So that wouldn't benefit them really at all. It would just give them some cushion if they were to slip. I do think there has to be some type of postseason implications, but I wonder if it has anything to maybe do with is auto bid really it? Yeah, I was thinking home court advantage as well, but what if you're already a top 2, top 3 seed?
Yeah, no, it's tough to see what to add, but Jay, I have this proposal.
Okay. Auto bid honestly sounds like the best one, but I feel like that's kind of cheating.
Yeah, but what about this? If you made the playoffs already, if you are a playoff team, they add an extra spot in the lottery for you, and you get the 15th best odds instead of the 14th. I know it's not much, but a playoff team that has a top 15 pick could either be dealt, could either be chosen to get a top prospect in the draft, and you still have that minimal chance to get a top 4 pick. Even though it's minimal, it's there. And if a team that doesn't make the playoffs gets it, and say if they have the 10th worst odds, they move up a couple spots. To kind of give them even like more of a chance to move forward. Maybe not postseason implications, but maybe lottery implications could maybe sway these teams to try out a bit more.
I think that's interesting. You wonder what that works for, because I know the thing is, money wise, it doesn't really. Money wise, the 500,000 for a team like the Lakers, for example, I saw a chart earlier that said that for the Lakers, only 3 players made at least 50% or more of their salary by winning the in-season tournament $500,000. Like every other player won anywhere between like 30, 20. For LeBron and AD, it was like 1% of their overall salary. But it was only 3 guys on the roster that won like 50% or more of their salary off of this tournament. So it is life-changing money to a degree, but it's kind of like a power of the teammates thing, right? It's got to be one of those things where you're like playing for one another and different things like that. And I do think that's good incentive, but either the money has to go up, baby, or like you said, maybe the pick, because if you have another draft pick that also allows you to modify your team more, if you have another flexible draft pick.
Who knows?
It's tough, TV. Incentive for this tournament is one of those things that's going to be the trickiest question moving forward, because playoff implications to me is almost superseding the rest of the season by giving somebody an auto bid, like NCAA style.
Yeah.
But it also is probably the most juicy thing left. Yeah, reasonable probably is even a better way to phrase it. Thing left that you could look at besides raising the money that feels like, okay, the guys will really respond to this.
100%. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that could change. Let us know down below if there's any change you would make to this in-season tournament. Does it have to be pink incentive? I don't know if players are going to be down for that because it's just going to be replacing a player on your roster right now. But or does it have to be postseason related, which I think is going to be more juicy, because especially for a team like, for example, the Pacers, they could be in an in-season tournament. No, not in-season, sorry, like a play-in battle. So having an auto bid could really help them. So let us know down below what you guys think. What should be changed in this in-season tournament to make it more competitive.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next topic. And Jay, we are at that point in the season. Some teams have played 22, 23, kind of like, that amount of games. We're at the quarter mark of the NBA season. So it is time for us to hit the stocks, to hit the quarter report card. Not really report card, the quarterly report, and see where we stand on some teams and some players. What we're gonna do in this segment is each of us are gonna have one player/team to buy stock in, to sell your stock on, or to hold. So that means if you had stock in them, to kind of hold your belief, or kind of hold to see where it goes. So we're gonna go through each of them and see what we're talking about. It could either, again, be a player or a team. Jay, let's start with the juicy one. Which player and team would you recommend to people to buy stock on right now?
Okay, so the team that I'm going to go with to buy stock on is the Orlando Magic. Look, I came into the season. This was my team, right? Last season, it was the Sacramento Kings. This year, we're banging the desk for the Orlando Magic all season long. So far, so good, man. Second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 15-7. They have the best record in the East over the last 10 games with a record of 8-2. This is one of the best defenses in the league right now, with Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner leading the offense. They're getting six-man of the year capabilities out of a guy in Cole Anthony. Big-time defense from guys like Jalen Suggs and Jonathan Isaac. Got to shout Jonathan Isaac out a little bit in terms of what they've been able to do on that side of the ball. This is a team that has a sustainable top 5 to top 10 defense, a team that has played relatively well on the offensive end through their young stars, and they still have a couple of chips in their back pocket if they want to make a move for a legitimate point guard at the scoring spot. But if they don't necessarily want to, they're doing it by committee, right? Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, Anthony Black, Markelle Fultz. They're doing it by committee, and they're playing well. And the scary part is, this team is 15-7, and they barely had Wendell Carter. They barely had Wendell Carter, who in a vacuum could make this defense even better. So when you look at the circumstances for the Orlando Magic, they're a team that's been healthy. They're young and scrappy. Jamal Mosley has those boys playing defense. And once they get Wendell Carter back, they can get even more interesting in that front court. That opens a lot up for them. These boys are playing hard. And I think they got a real chance to make the postseason and be a pretty good seed in the process.
Yeah, and honestly, what surprises me from them this year more than anything is, like you mentioned, that top 2 defense right now. Like, who saw this coming with these pieces, with this type of lineup? You would think that a team led by Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero maybe wouldn't be like a great offense, but that's where you think their strengths would lie.
Yeah.
But no, like you mentioned, Jamal Mosley has got this team like locked in on the defensive end. People like Jalen Suggs is becoming like one of the better perimeter defending guards in the league.
Yeah.
Then you have like everyone like coming in. Mo Wagner has had a pretty good, probably one of the best seasons of his career over there. Gogo Batadze, one of the better backup centers in basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is like a lot of surprises on this team. The whole buying of the stock thing, I think it's hard to buy on this team, man, because their value's at an all-time high. Like, it's a weird type of thing. But to be honest, I mean, no one really saw this coming. And yes, I mean, the offense might not be the strength, but at least it's like middle of the pack. It's not like they're like, it's not like I'm looking at the opposite of it, but the Pacers are like top 1 in offense, like bottom 3 in defense. They're like okay on offense, but they have a top defense. So I think this team as a whole, yeah. And with the flexibility to potentially make trades, there's some rumors going out around for, them trying to take that next step, especially with the momentum they have this season. Who knows? But yeah, no, this Magic team, man, if you haven't bought already, buy some stock in them.
Nah, facts.
Here's the thing I'm buying stock on. The person right now I think you should buy stock on, just because I think his value has kind of gone under the radar, but I think he's going to be in for a fantastic rest of the season. Yo, you guys got to buy stock on Karl Anthony Towns right now. Karl Anthony Towns, yes, he had a slow start, trying to figure himself in that offense next to Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards, but over the last 14 games, he is 50-50-90 right now, 24 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, and has a career high in defensive plus box plus minus. This is a changed Karl Anthony Towns. This is our Karl Anthony Towns who is more efficient, who is fitting into a system where you're like, how are you going to have 2 centers, 2 7-footers be on the same court? He is finding a way to put himself there. He's hitting some clutch shots as of late. They're the number 1 team in the league. It's a lot to talk about with this team, especially when you have a star player like Anthony Edwards, when you have a defensive player of the year candidate in Rudy Gobert. We talked about before the season, man. Karl Anthony Towns just a few years ago was the number 1 guy on like GM's radars as the guy that you want to build around for the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know if he doesn't have that type of, aura around him anymore, but he is still a damn good basketball player. Whether the Timberwolves move off of him or not, he is still a very good player. He's showing how efficient he could be, and it's only going to get better now that he's figuring himself out in this system. You got to buy some stock in Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, I think that the coolest part about Karl Anthony Towns is he's found his way to be able to fit within this system as a team that's defensive oriented. We were just talking about the Orlando Magic, how we thought Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner would be the driving forces of that team, but it's actually the defense. The same thing could be said for this team in Minnesota. Look, Anthony Edwards is going to get all the highlights. Yes, Rudy Gobert is getting a lot of defensive player of the year buzz, but the team defense across the board is the thing that's been carrying them a lot so far this season as one of the top defenses in the NBA. And Karl Anthony Towns' way of fitting in that is not only buying in the defensive end, but finally fitting in offensively next to Rudy Gobert in ways that we thought was going to work last year. Now, if you look at his last 10 games alone, he's had 5 double-doubles. He has a game where he has 9 assists earlier last month against the New Orleans Pelicans. He's become a much more system-oriented player. And sometimes you would think that's a net negative thing, but on a team like this that has a defined guard like Anthony Edwards, who supersedes kind of what you need from a scorer, Karl Anthony Towns needs to be able to step up and fit where needed, and he's done that so far. It was a rocky start to the season, and me and you even talked about it on and off camera about being a little nervous about where Cat fits in the mix with this team playing this way. But this team looks a lot better when they're playing the way they've been on the defensive end and then getting this kind of production out of Cat on the offensive end. This makes the Minnesota Timberwolves a scary team to catch anytime during the season. But when the postseason comes, I think this might be the most prepared version of them that we've ever seen. And that's going to mean a lot because this team was really scary last year, low-key.
especially in the postseason. Especially in the postseason. They gave the scare to that. I think was it the Grizzlies team? I think was it the Grizzlies?
I think
it was the Warriors. No, was it the Warriors?
If I'm not mistaken, weren't they? They were the team that.
The Nuggets. It was the Nuggets.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Nuggets,
they're the team that everybody was saying, and I think I even agree. They were the team that many could make an argument gave the Nuggets their hardest series throughout the entirety of the postseason, despite it being a first-round matchup. Like some will say, "Oh, the Lakers were the most tough sweep we've ever seen," and all that. No, dude, the Minnesota Timberwolves, like they arguably gave the Nuggets the most trouble. And I think that means a lot when you look at the fact that the Nuggets also went on to win the championship. Like, this team is built to do some scary things this year. And I'm totally with you in the Karl-Anthony Towns thing, because I think it's only a matter of time before he starts to really put his name back on the map. Low-key, the low-key version of Karl-Anthony Towns, though, I like it. Not having all the national media attention on him about him being the number one superstar in town. He stepped into this role really nicely, and I think he kind of just understands what he needs to do now.
Yeah, and he's a part of that freaking Timberwolves front court rotation, which is probably the best in the league. When you think of Rudy Gobert, him, and then Nasri coming off the bench. Woo, man, this team. Look, they had a team with Jimmy Butler and like, you know, with the point guard and Jeff Teague and all that back in the day, but this team, you could see the vision now. Yes, was giving away like 4 pick swaps and 5 first-round picks the answer to trade for Rudy Gobert. Probably not, but now you could see it kind of coming into fruition. If this turns into like a deep playoff run / championship, who knows? But man, I feel really like good about this team, and I'm feeling really good about Karl-Anthony Towns right now, who again started off the season pretty slow, kind of in the same realm as like a Pascal Siakam, Julius Randle type beat, but has really like picked it up now, and he's showing why he's still, you know, no one talks about him as like a top center and like in that sort of conversation anymore. He deserves to still be in that conversation 100%.
Definitely, I 100% agree. Cat's gonna be one of those guys worth keeping an eye on this season. A lot of people need to understand that Anthony Edwards is what makes this team a playoff team. Rudy Gobert is what makes them a competitive playoff team. Karl-Anthony Towns rounding out that trifecta is what makes them go deep into the postseason. That's the key to it. So he's going to be a major player to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the season as they continue to fight for seeding. But they're at the top of the West right now.
Yeah, 100%. Jay, let's move on to the next one. Which team are you selling your stock on? A team or player that you're like, you know what, man? I've been holding on for hope for too long. I'm out. Just take all the stock I have on them.
Damn, TV. I gotta pull the plug already. I gotta pull it. I don't care if they made it. I don't care if they made it deep into the in-season tournament. I'm pulling the plug on the god dang New Orleans Pelicans. I'm tired of them. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep giving Zion the love when he's having these insane double performances, 20-plus point performances. And then the next night, I'm turning around and you got Shaquille O'Neal giving Zion advice on how to be a winning big man. Like, I really don't know how to feel about this team, because it seems like this team just might not be ready for the big moment yet. I don't know if they're ready for the bright lights. They won a round in the in-season tournament knockout rounds. Love to see it. Get embarrassed by the Lakers. Embarrassed in Vegas. Bad. And the funniest part about it was, look, I went with the Lakers to win that game because of the fact that I was leaning on the side of Anthony Davis having a breakout game. Because if you look at the stats, Anthony Davis is 3-0 versus Zion Williamson. He's like 8-2 against the New Orleans Pelicans since becoming a Los Angeles Laker. 9-2 and 4-0 now. But that's why I leaned on them. But that game was over by like the mid-third quarter, gang. Like, Austin Reeves was back to getting busy, like, who's been struggling for a good portion of the season. And he finally got himself a decent one hanging in that New Orleans Pelicans game. Not to mention D'Angelo Russell got to get a little busy too. But I don't know, man. I just feel like this team is just not built for prime time yet, which is crazy because we're talking about a team that has Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado.
A lot of good names, a deep team at that.
Jordan Hawkins, who's like the fourth or fifth best rookie in the class right now.
Yeah.
Yet we don't know what they are on a night-to-night basis. They're a great team that looks like they should be a top 4 seed in the West one night, and they're a team that looks like they should be scraping the bottom of the play-in tournament the next. They're the team that I think you gotta drop the stock on because you never know what you're gonna get. And I understand the idea that with stocks, it's all about patience. But what about that week or two where you sit and you're watching the arrow point down and down and down, and all of a sudden the red arrow's past the bottom of your screen? That's where the New Orleans Pelicans are headed. They are headed in an area where I think they're not sure of themselves. And I think the thing that's going to make this team the sweatiest is when that when that December 15th date hits and all of these guys start to become eligible, there are going to be a lot more phone calls around names like Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. And that's going to make this team even sweatier because guess what? They're going to have to at least listen in on a couple of them. I don't know.
I don't know about the Pelicans as a whole selling stock in them, but I get the idea of selling on Zion Williamson just because the expectations we had on him before his career started, even when like the Pelicans were like being competitive in like the play-in/playoffs a couple years back, we were like Zion Williamson is the missing piece. If we can get a good version of Zion Williamson, then this team is potentially a playoff lock, a top 4 seed in the West. I don't think that Zion Williamson is going to be the player that we think he is. I just don't think it'll be, whether it's discipline, whether it's the diet, because it's not just, the media talking about it now. It's like reports coming out saying like Zion Williamson is not like as it's like Zion is not really like being as involved or isn't like taking in like the criticisms as great as the Pelicans would have hoped. So I think it's a bad time to maybe sell the Pelicans now. Just maybe there's like just because they're getting a lot of their guys back on injury too. Alvarado's back, Trey Murphy just came back from injury and all that. But in terms of Zion Williamson, and I think that's like kind of the bulk of your argument right now, it's like, is he gonna be as great as we thought he was gonna be? Is he gonna be that top, borderline top 10 player that we think that he's gonna be on the court on a night-to-night basis? With the amount of injuries he's had in the past too, I don't know. The Pelicans are an interesting team, and maybe it's a thing that many people are holding on to the idea of the Pelicans for too long, rather than what we see on the basketball court. But selling on this team already feels tough, and if people are holding stock into this team, I think it's going to be like a tough ask for them to let go of it, especially now that they have a lot of their guys back.
Yeah, I think overall, like, my biggest thing is just, I don't know, bro. I think when it comes to this team, it's one of those things where I definitely can't get behind the idea of just the New Orleans Pelicans led by Zion Williamson moving forward. They just make me too nervous. I think, there's an idea of being a little too early on them, but I also think there's an aspect of them where I just don't know if you can necessarily give them the kind of respect that we think they deserve when they just, I don't know, bro. They just don't feel like a complete team. Yes, the injuries come in. I don't think they just don't look like a complete team. They're one of those teams. Here's a perfect example. New Orleans is built in a way that is so similar to those Orlando Magic teams we used to hate. They have the components of a postseason team that should be a perennial postseason team, but they never play up to what the standard is. Like, they have 3 guys who have all-star caliber potential with a real supporting cast with flexible positioning. Jordan Hawkins and Trey Murphy can do a lot of the same things. Mm-hmm. They have Jose Alvarado. Obviously, point guard is a little dicey for them outside of Jose and then CJ McCollum to a certain extent. Yeah. But they have a lot of good things to like, yet on a night-to-night basis, you're never sure how long you can like them. And
Yeah.
I think, yes, that has a lot to do with Zion, but I think it goes deeper than that, bro. I'm worried about New Orleans. I was worried about Miami earlier in the season. They made me eat crow for a little while. Maybe New Orleans will do the same. But for right now, I got to bail on New Orleans, man. They just make me feel they make me feel too nervous, man. I'm holding stock that's making my hands shaky.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, people have been kind of holding stock on them for a while now. At some point, you kind of have to cut bait. I kind of get what
Yeah.
you're going at. The team I'm selling my stock on, and I was waiting to sell a stock on this team just in case, a certain player can turn the team around. Probably not. I got to sell all my stock on the Golden State Warriors. I think a lot of people have done it already, but I was holding on to the fact, when Steph Curry comes back, we get the complete roster with Draymond. This team, we'll see what this team truly is. This team is what we think it is. Steph Curry and a bunch of guys that are just not good enough anymore. And put in emphasis, not anymore. Because the Warriors' time has passed. And that's fine. The problem is that they're wasting like some of the final great years of Steph Curry, which is absolutely unfortunate to see. And a clear example of this was that game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Steph Curry was like incredible, as he usually is. But once again, they get into a position and in overtime, and they just cannot get it done. They cannot get the help for Steph Curry that he needs. I mean, when looking at just that one game in general, 34 points on 10 of 20 shooting, 6 from 12 from deep. You just can't compete with even like the young up and down teams like with the Thunder anymore. You're just not able to close out games. You clearly don't have the size. This Warriors team is just not built great, and the guys that we thought were going to be major factors in them winning another championship are just clearly not of that ability anymore, and just do not have the personnel around them to kind of make up for a lot of the mistakes that they have as they grow older. So yeah, sucks because I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. He's still, one of the best players in the league. It's just that as he continues to play at this top level, the rest of the guys are just slowly declining. And that's just not going to make for a championship team.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things worth really noting. They are in the bottom 10 in points allowed so far this season. That, not great. They
not Warriors
are
like at all.
One of the worst 2-point shooting teams in the league, bottom 5 at 52%. They're still one of the better 3-point shooting teams. We know that's mainly carried by guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to a lesser degree. Mm-hmm. They foul a ton. They're top 3 in fouls committed at nearly 26 per game. Like,
I wonder why when there's no rim protection.
Yeah, there you go, TV. That was the exact point I was going to make. This is a team that they just feel out of sorts. Draymond Green's been on a full erratic tour since last year, kind of this offseason kind of piled onto it, then had his little mini suspension to kind of make it worse. Kevon Looney hasn't been nearly as good as he was on that postseason run. You want to talk about a fall from grace? I thought it was going to be Chris Paul. Where in the world is Andrew Wiggins, bro? Where is this man? Like, on a game-to-game basis, this man is Houdini himself. Like, it's pretty nuts to see how this team is falling from grace. Dude, Steph Curry is averaging 29.4 points per game. The next highest scorer is Klay Thompson at 15.8. To put some perspective on Klay Thompson's 15.8 points per game, that's the lowest of his career since his rookie season. Their second highest scorer is having the second lowest scoring season of his career. And they're supposed to hang with who? And now Chris Paul is kind of like dealing with a little nagging injury himself. I'm sure maybe he'll be able to, recover relatively well because this past week was a pretty odd week in terms of rest for the NBA. So maybe that'll help in terms of his timetable. But we were talking about Chris Paul falling off a cliff, and granted, he doesn't look all that great and dang so, but he's been okay as a drink stirrer. But the real one who's jumped off the cliff and shoot, probably Swanton bombed off the cliff at this point.
Yeah,
is Klay Thompson. I mean, I mean, anywhere you look, Klay Thompson's 15.8 points per game, like I said, second worst of his career. 2.5 free throw attempts. That's not the worst of his career or anything, but for a guy that's not shooting the ball well, that's not great at all. He's shooting 47% from two. That's kind of been a thing recently, the last 2 or 3 seasons. But the most notable one, 35.4% on nearly 8 3-point attempts per game. You want to know the lowest he had before that? It was 38.5 2 seasons ago. And his lowest outside of that was 40.1. That was his second year in Golden State.
Yeah.
So he's having one of his worst 3-point shooting seasons. Mind you, his second year in Golden State, he was only taking 6.4 attempts from beyond the arc and was hitting 40.1. 2 seasons ago, when he was hitting 38.5, he was hitting 42%. Like 40.4. I mean, excuse me, he was shooting 38.5%. Excuse me. This season, easily the worst. Easily the worst of his career at 35.4, and he's still taking 8 a game. Like, I think you got a good point here. If nobody else besides Steph Curry can step up, the West is too tough for it. The West is too tough to be playing those games.
Yeah. They've slowly but surely kind of like middled out. They start like the other guys are kind of going down, while each of the West teams are just slowly but surely getting better. When you think of teams like the Timberwolves, who are number 1 in the league, when you look at the Thunder, who are a top 2 team in the West right now, it's just hard to keep up. Even teams like the Houston Rockets feel like they're on another, like, on that same level as the Warriors or slightly better than them. It's a tough place for the Warriors to be. Yes, they still have one of the best point guards in the league in Steph Curry, but how much can he take you further? Probably not much. So, especially with the team you have around him, the Klay Thompson thing is tough because we saw him play a lot better coming off of his injury. He played pretty well in their championship run, but to see someone who last year, by the way, it's not like this was like something that we could have seen coming. Last year he was averaging like 22 points per game. It wasn't
Right.
like it wasn't like this was like a slow decline. Nope. This guy had a better season than he did the season he came off the injury and then completely fell off. So yeah, it's just a tough it's a tough role for the Warriors to be on, and they kind of committed to this team at this point, so they have to roll with it. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason, what they're going to do with the Klay Thompson extension, whether they believe that Draymond Green is worth decent money after this. Who knows? But, yeah, this Warriors team, I thought Steph might be enough. I've been holding on to it, but it's time to sell on this.
I mean, just to kind of like put a pin in this, I don't see a single team besides maybe the Pelicans in terms of my worry factor. The Pelicans and the Clippers. In terms of my worry factor, I don't see a single team ahead of the Warriors in the standings in the West right now that I have a similar or I am more worried about than Golden State. The 9 through 11 right now, Clippers, Pelicans, Warriors, in that order, those 3 teams are probably the most worrisome teams in the Western Conference. Even the Grizzlies, who are 6-15 in the 13th spot, they have the bright spot of seeing John Morant come back later on this month. Actually, later, what? Not
12 days. 12 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say not this week, but next week actually.
Yeah.
So even they have a bright spot that could turn their season around and at least make them a play-in team. This Warriors team, I don't see any bright spots dropping down from the heavens into their lap unless they're willing to do something really unconventional that we haven't seen them do yet, and they really pull out the stops.
100%. It's just, again, it's hard to maintain dynasties, and the Warriors dynasty lasting this long is already a great accomplishment in of itself. People just grow out of it, plain and simple. You'll have the generational player in Steph Curry who'll do it till the day he retires, but not everyone's gonna be able to do that. So it may be time to give up on the Warriors, but man, they still had a damn good run. We have to respect that. Moving on to teams we're going to hold on. And these are the teams or players where you feel like maybe their value was like lower than you thought it was. But instead of selling on and saying, you know what, let's cut our losses, let's hold on. Let's see how they can get better. Jay, who would be that type of player team that you're going to be holding on and not really selling or buying?
I don't necessarily know if I would call it, a guy that's underperformed that I feel like I'm kind of gonna bait. But I'm gonna look at it more as a guy that if you have stock on him, I wouldn't sell it just yet. But he's a dude you should be teetering on, and might be a surprising name. The guy that I'm gonna say you should hold stock in right now is Anthony Davis. Now I know what everybody's probably thinking. He should have been in the buy category of this podcast. Dropped 40-20 in the in-season tournament knockout round. He's on the in-season tournament championship winning Lakers team. The Lakers are currently 5th in the Western Conference. They're playing good ball. He's the anchor of a top 10 defense in the league. What's the problem? The problem is that many don't understand. Actually, most probably do understand. Anthony Davis has a really weird thing about looking like a god on neutral sites. Just throwing that out there.
I've seen this, man. I've seen
throwing that out there, right? We've seen the Mickey Mouse tour that was the bubble championship, right? The one where he was shooting ungodly from beyond the arc.
Best player in the league. He looked like he was the best player in the league. Not gonna lie.
And you know what's funny? We're having the exact same conversation about him now, coming off of the Las Vegas run for the in-season tournament. Coming off of the 40-20 and them winning the in-season tournament, we are back into that weird conversation that we have every couple of weeks with Anthony Davis of whether or not we are forgetting that he is one of the best bigs in the league. And the truth is, he's always going to be considered as a top 5, top 6 big in the NBA. The issue is we never know how long he can maintain that status. This year, it looks good for him. But TV mentioned it at the top of the pod. We're 20-something games in. We haven't seen anything injury-wise from Anthony Davis that's given us cause to pause yet. Which means there's still a lot of time left to give us an injury that gives us cause to pause, right? Now, I'm not going to be the hater that wishes upon Anthony Davis because by no means do I want to see him hurt. But I think trying to buy high on Anthony Davis now while you feel that he's on the top of the mountain, you're going to end up getting yourself stung in the foot because a week or two from now, you're going to see that same Anthony Davis gripping for his knee when he goes down for a layup that looks a little bit more traumatic than most. And he takes the Shawn Michaels drop and we're all wondering how long he's going to be out. And I hate to say it, but with that being the case, riding Anthony Davis when he is at his highest is the most dangerous way to play with your stock. If anything, this is the time where you need to hold your stock, see if it plays out for another couple of games. They go on the road to the Dallas Mavericks on Tuesday. See this play out coming off of the in-season tournament. And if it continues to hang, the Lakers continue to get healthier. They're still waiting on Gabe Vincent, but the rest of the guys are back. If this team is still a top 10 defense, Anthony Davis still playing at a high level, you go in, you buy in as quickly as possible. But for right now, while the stock is at an all-time high, and there's still some questions hanging around, I think he's a guy that you should be careful about.
Yeah. Anthony Davis is like, we've had this conversation last year. There was like a 5 to 10 game stretch where he was like, why isn't this guy in the MVP conversations? Exactly. We know how great Anthony Davis could be. Until I see it on more than a 10-game stretch, I will not be buying any Anthony Davis stock. Honestly, if you have stock in Anthony Davis, you could argue it's a sell. You could argue because when you have Anthony Davis stock and he's had like this sort of game where the only other players in like a history to have this sort of stat line is Elgin Baylor and Wilt Chamberlain, then this is maybe a time to sell. But also, like, you kind of want to see how this goes. Guys who have been hurt the last few seasons have been weirdly healthy this year. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. So maybe this year is different for Anthony Davis. But until I see it in a larger sample size, I don't know if I can. I like the idea of a hold though. I think that, but you just kind of just want to. I like to hold it because you only want to see how far this could take it. Because you could see him how he plays in high pressure basketball. Playoff Anthony Davis is absolutely fantastic. Can he continue to do this at a high level? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Anthony Davis is such a weird stock to have in general. Yeah. Why would you even invest in this stock in the first place? But if the stock reaches its all-time high, then you got one of the best players in the league.
I agree, bro. AD is one of the biggest enigmas in the NBA, and that's why he's a stock that probably will always end up in the hold, low key, if you just are uncertain about his health, which I feel like we always are.
Yeah. Here's my hold, though. If you had stock in the Cleveland Cavaliers before the season and you were thinking of selling because, they had a rough start, I'm telling you to hold. Mostly because I still believe that this team, although the slow start, they had a slow start. I still believe they could finish like top 3, top 4 in the East. Maybe not the 52 wins that we thought before the season when we did the over-unders, but they could be close to there. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak. They've missed a lot of their players have missed decent amount of time. Donovan Mitchell has missed a few games here and there. I think he's missed 5 in total. Darius Garland has missed 5 games. Evan Mobley is actually going to miss tonight's game as well. Karis LeVert has missed a few games. Jared Allen. I just don't think we've seen the complete version of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And when they're on the court, you can kind of see how they're going to be able to improve off of last year's disappointing playoff loss to the New York Knicks, mostly because you just have that extra wing play in Max Strus. You have a better bench unit. Sucks to see that Craig Porter Craig Porter's become one of those revelations as a backup point guard because he's been like really good for the Cavs as well. Yeah. I think that this team is very good. We just haven't been able to see them at their absolute best. Even when you think of someone like Donovan Mitchell, who some are saying having a slow start to the season, he's still averaging like 27.5, 5 and 6. He's still like one of the top guards in basketball. Darius Garland's off to a slow start to the season as well, but he's starting to pick it back up. I think that the Cavs are still an unknown quantity, even a quarter way into the season. That selling stock on this team, knowing how many wins they could win the previous year, knowing how much talent they have, would be kind of silly to do. So if there's anything I want to do is if you're holding some Cavs stock, I would say hold right now.
I think that's a safe play with the Cavaliers. They're currently sixth in the Eastern Conference, so they're right there in the middle of it in terms of being able to make the postseason. As of right now, they're a team that I feel like does need to make the most out of this season in ways that we kind of mentioned with the Minnesota Timberwolves to a certain extent. Right, this is one of those teams where like how far they go this year has a real implication on what type of money this team is willing to invest long term in this team, especially going into next year, because this is another one of those teams that will get very expensive in a year or two, right? And of course, there's a lot of rumors around the Donovan Mitchell moving on thing with him being a potential expiring contract after next year's season. So he becomes a guy that with a year left on his contract after this year, is he going to be a dude that potentially gets, moved again? These are all questions, which leaves the Cleveland Cavaliers in a real spot where I think they're going to play better as they get healthier. Like you mentioned before, they've dealt with a lot of injuries so far this season. Darius Garland had a really rough start to the year, right? Because he also had a little bit of nagging injury earlier on. There's a lot to still like about this team, and I still love Max Strus as an acquisition. Craig Porter, like you mentioned beforehand, has become one of my favorite, like, underrated players in the league with how he's been able to step up in this role. I like what they got, man. Again, like you mentioned beforehand, are they going to be the 50-win team we thought they were going to be when we did the over-unders? Nah, I think that ship has sailed. But are they a team that I think could still make some real noise on the road to the postseason? I think they still have a really good shot.
Yeah, I like that other point you made. The extra pressure of trying to keep Donovan Mitchell around. You pulled off that big trade to give away a bunch of your assets, to give away a bunch of your draft capital to get Donovan Mitchell. You were expecting him to be here for the long haul. You're expecting him to be there for a good portion of your future, especially matching up with the timelines of the Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and all that stuff. You want to prove to him that you're going to be a consistent threat in the East. So I think that the extra pressure of that also helps the Cavs, have that extra motivation to play better. And you want to you always have in the back of the mind that next loss, you want to be able to bounce back. So I think that although the Cavs are kind of at the low right now, you kind of maybe want to sell off because you see how great some of the other teams in the East have been. I think it's a good job to hold it right now, especially because, again, we're only a quarter into the season. There's still a lot can change.
I agree. Cavs are a good stock, though, nonetheless. I think they're still a good stock.
100%. Let us know down below what you guys think. Any of the stocks that we presented here, would you buy, sell, hold? What are some other ones that you have as well? Let us know down in the comment section below. Jay, we are moving on to the next segment of the show, and then of course it's the infamous TV and the Hit Your Free Throws draft segment. And in this one, we have a pretty good one. I think this is one where I think it's kind of noteworthy, especially because this man just won the first ever in-season tournament tournament MVP. This one's gonna be based around LeBron James. And if you guys didn't know, they probably mentioned it like 5 to 10 times a broadcast, but he is the oldest player in the league. So, which means he's been at a lot of spots. He's had a pretty long career. He's about to turn 39 this December. So he has had a lot of teammates in his career. So we're doing a draft around that. In this draft, we're going to be drafting a team of LeBron's teammates, but here is the caveat. We're going to try to get a LeBron teammate from each era of LeBron. What do you mean by that, TV? We're going to try and draft one player from the Cavs one, from his first Cavs run, the Miami Heat run, the second Cavs run, the Los Angeles Lakers run that he's been on, and then one Olympic teammate. So he's had 5 spots there, and we're going to fill up a lineup with those players. And another caveat, we're getting that version that he played with. Jay, how do you feel about this draft?
Well, that first run is going to be tough in terms of that first Cavaliers run. It would be interesting to see what we end up doing with that one. But in terms of the rest of the team, I'm actually really intrigued because the caveat is so important, right? Because the version of that player you get almost determines part of what the play style of this team looks like. So although you might be getting a former all-star MVP player, for example, TV picked on me off camera about the idea of I don't know if you're going to pick Derrick Rose in this draft because you'll be getting the Cleveland Cavaliers version of it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not even going to sully his name with that one. We're going to leave that one alone. It goes to just put in perspective, there's a lot to keep in mind. Just because you played with some good players doesn't mean he always played with them when they were at their best.
100%. You know how this drafts go. Jay's gonna have the first pick. I'm gonna have the next 2, and we're gonna go so on and so forth, serpentine style. So Jay, you get the first overall pick. Which era of LeBron you're gonna choose from, and which guy you're gonna get?
I am gonna go ahead and get my first one out the way, and I'm gonna go with my Olympics Braun teammate. Give me the Cobster. I'm taking Kobe, man. Olympic Kobe, demon.
I didn't want you to get Kobe. I wanted to get Kobe.
Man, come on, man.
I couldn't let that slip. You're right. Oh boy, let's see. You took one of the Olympic ones. I guess I can hold off on that for the time being then. For this one, you have to go with arguably the best player LeBron has played with in that version of that player. And I'm going to go with 2 of them here. I'm going to go Cavs run 2. You got to go Kyrie Irving. You just got to go Kyrie Irving from that run. One of the best point guards he's played with. Of course, the shot in that NBA Finals. One of the best LeBron teammates. And I'm going to go to the Lakers right away because no one's going to touch this guy when it comes to the Lakers run. Give me Anthony Davis. We talked about his stock and everything early on, but we've seen what Anthony Davis at his best looks like next to LeBron James, which is a top 3 player in basketball. So give me Kyrie. Give me Anthony Davis. Thank you very much. If he had that freaking big 3, which, to be fair, could have happened on the Lakers this year. But I'm going to have those 2 in my lineup. So I'm going to take my Cavs 2 guy out in Kyrie and then get my Lakers guy in there in Anthony Davis.
I can't even be mad at that because that trifecta right there is pretty nuts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. From the first Cleveland Cavaliers stint, I want... Oh my gosh, do I want to do this now? Give me Ilgauskas.
No,
Give me the Big Z. Big Z.
Oh, that's probably the best one you could have got, to be fair. I like that pick a lot.
And then the
Yeah, it would be.
other, oh man, Antoine Jameson would have been a pretty good one too, but I don't know if he was really that guy during that time. And then in the second Cleveland Cavalier run, wait, no. Wait, I already have Kobe. Do I really want to do that?
I mean, there's another damn good player on that second Cav run.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I want to do it or not.
Yeah.
I think it's not my best play, but we got some rim protection, so I'll rock with it. Let me go ahead and get stretch for Kevin Love.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll take him. Not my best so far. I kind of stumped myself a little bit with the Kobe Bryant one. We'll see how it hangs, though.
Yeah, I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. Kevin Love added to your roster there. Time to go with my two. And it's hard not to go with a draft and not go with probably one of the USA's best players of all time. Let's go with USA Carmelo Anthony over there at the 3 position alongside Kyrie and AD. And then I'm going to go with the guy who had to probably make the most adjustments in the LeBron James system. Someone who basically went from, having to be one of the most dominant post players in the league, one of the best mid-range shooters, to arguably one of the guys to usher in the stretch 5. So let me go with Christopher Emmanuel Bosch. I didn't know that's Chris Paul's name. My bad. Chris Bosch. I'm scratch that. I'm still gonna go Chris Bosch nonetheless. So I'm gonna have Chris Bosch as my Heat pick.
So I mean, we're not building this team around LeBron. We're building this team of LeBron's teammates. So
yeah,
it changes things a lot. I'm just gonna do it. Give me D Wade at the PG.
Got you.
And it's got to be Miami Heat D Wade, obviously.
Yeah.
That backcourt is kind of nasty, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade and Kobe Bryant is low-key wild. I'm not gonna lie to you. What am I missing, though? I think I'm missing a Lakers teammate, right?
A Laker guy, yeah.
Lakers teammate. Ooh.
There's one guy. There's one.
Ooh, because you already got Anthony Davis. Who are some Lakers teammates at the wing spot that could just go crazy right now?
There was one guy that got traded after 1 year.
Oh no, I'm thinking of him too. I'm just wondering if that version is enough for what I'm looking for.
You could go with, you got to go with the guy leading one of the tank commanders in the league right now.
You're right. There are options here. You are right, TV.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the version I need, I got the Big Z. Give me Big Kuzma. Yes, sir, man. Look, man. At the end of the day, I don't know if he's going to be a most improved candidate like some of these other former Lakers. But Kyle Kuzma, as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers, there's a reason why he wasn't voted off of Total Drama Island, man. He came in and he did what he needed to do. He made it through the reigns. He even got a championship out of it. Give me Kyle Kuzma, man.
Love that. Absolutely love that pick over there. Now for my final pick, and I left myself with a freaking Cavs 1 player, which is kind of a tough one over here.
Yikes.
Unceremoniously, I'm going to have to choose this guy, but I have enough guys around him to kind of make up for it. Let me go Larry Hughes.
Ooh.
Not much to go off because of that. Larry Hughes. Why not? Ooh. Just camp out there. In this type of game, he would probably be a nice little 3-point shooter. Why not? Let's just go Larry Hughes. Why not?
Fair.
All right, Jay. Let's check out these teams. Who built the best LeBron team among LeBron's teammates? What lineup you got?
All right, so my team made up of complete teammates of LeBron James throughout the years is the Miami Heat version of Dwayne Wade, Olympics Kobe Bryant, Los Angeles Lakers Kyle Kuzma, second stint Cleveland Cavaliers Kevin Love, and first stint Cleveland Cavaliers Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
Damn,
the Big Z.
Very good. over there. Yeah, that's tough. My lineup, I really like it, apart from one guy. But let's see this lineup over here. At the point guard, of course, we got Kyrie Irving, one of the best, probably arguably one of the best LeBron teammates over there in that second Cleveland run. Then I had to pick a Cavs one guy, so I had to go with Larry Hughes at the 2. Give me Olympic Melo at the 3. When we're talking about the best version of Carmelo Anthony,
that's a good one.
Olympic Melo is pretty damn good.
That's a good one.
Then we go with Lakers Anthony Davis. We talked about on the pod that like him in that like bubble run, especially if you're getting that version specifically of Anthony Davis, one of the best players in the league. Neutral side Anthony Davis is an absolute god, and is an absolute god. So we got to go with AD over there at the 4, and then at the 5, got to go with one of the pioneers of the stretch 5, the guy who completely changed his game around, LeBron James, Chris Bosh. Oh, Jay, how you feeling about your team?
Hey man, my team's lacking spacing. We got a lot of shooting in terms of guys that'll get a lot of shot attempts per se between Wade, Kobe, and Kyle. But I mean, I like my team. I like this draft. It's interesting. There's a handful of guys that didn't come up, right? You know, playoff Rondo didn't come up. A ton of USA guys could have came up as well, as really interesting options. In terms of the first Cavalier stint, Mo Williams didn't come up. Antoine Jamison didn't get chosen. There's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple of different guys where you could go down the list and say, like, you know, there's still some guys left over, whether it was still from the USA teams, the first teams. If you wanted like a sneaky pick, Rashard Lewis was still a knockdown 3-point shooter when he was with the Miami Heat. Yeah. Jason Kidd with the Olympics goes under the radar.
Prime Dwight Howard.
In terms of getting the Olympics version. Yeah. Allen Iverson was an option throughout all of this as well. There was some dudes that still, you know, really could have gotten picked up. JJ Hickson was good during their first run. He was like a 20-8 kind of guy at the time.
Cavs Shaq, I mean.
Cavs Shaq could have got some burn. He could have got some burn. Mark Gasol, Lakers version Mark Gasol, was like a DPOY candidate. I mean, there's some options there. I ain't gonna lie.
100%. Well, let us know down below which team you think is better. It's a pretty good lineup. I think we have a bunch of like really damn good players, and then we kind of have like that sore thumb in each of our teams. Whether you want to look at Kyle Kuzma or Larry Hughes, I think you might have got the W on that end. But let us know down below which team is going to win in the battle of LeBron teammates. Now we're going to move on to the final segment of the show, and it is time for the NBA quiz. And like I told Jay before the show, it is LeBron related, but it's not LeBron related at the same time. Like I mentioned, like 5 times a podcast, they're going to say that LeBron's the oldest player in the league. And he's doing phenomenal things, winning the in-season tournament cup, winning in-season tournament MVP. He's still like one of the top players in the league. But Jay, in this quiz, I'm going to need you to name me the next 10. Name me the next 10 oldest players in the NBA right now, active.
Whoa, like right now?
Yeah, active players right now. The next 10 guys who are oldest players in the league, who have played a game this season. I'll say that, who have played a game this year.
Okay.
Let's see if you can get it.
And who have played a game is a great point too, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know we got Braun. That was number 1, obviously, but he's not a part of this list.
Yeah.
We know that. We know Chris Paul is on the list.
He's on this list. He's number 1 on this list. Not the second oldest player in the league. It is Chris Paul. He's at 30. He is also 38 years old, but LeBron is turning 39 in like 2 weeks.
We know Big Jeff Green is on the list.
Number 3 on this list. He is 37 years old.
Yeah, my boy been around for a minute. Shout out to the Seattle Sonic days, my boy. What about like PJ Tucker?
You got the top 3. He is number 2 on this list. He's also 38 years old.
Wow. All right. We gotta get Celtics master splinter Al Horford himself.
You got the top 4. He is number 4 at 37 years old.
All right. Who else we gotta think of that's like big broke back?
Yeah.
Um, I hate to talk about him like this because he's your boy, but he look cooked. What about like Kyle Lowry?
You're like going in order of this one. He's number 5.
Really?
He's
Oh
also he's
wow. Okay.
37 as well.
That's nuts. Nah, that's my dog, but he you know. Eesh.
Honestly, I'm telling you right now, better than last year, which is not saying much, but at least Kyle Lowry is playing a bit better than last year.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Who else, man? Who else is like big old? Who's like old for real? KD's not old yet. Steph's still cool.
They're like 15 and 16 on this list.
Yeah, I figured. What about like, yo, has JaVale got any burn with the Kings?
He is number 10 on this list at 36 years
Clutched
old.
it. That's my dog, but I didn't know him since the John Wall Dougie days, bro.
Yes.
Come on, you know he been around a minute at least.
Yeah, number 10 on the list, JaVale McGee.
All right, cool. So what
So
about
you're missing 6 through 9.
Ooh, that's still a lot of names, low key.
Yeah.
What about? I gotta start thinking of people I seen on ESPN. Is Draymond on there?
Draymond, I'm trying to see here. I think he's like not in the top 20.
Ah, okay. My fault, Draymond. I'm thinking of people that's on TV because it just kind of helps a little bit.
Yeah.
He just retired, so he's out. What about, has Danny Green played?
Yes, he's played 2 games this year.
Ooh.
he's at number 9 at 36 years old.
Ooh, big. Gotta look to the TV guys. They're already They're already looking for their post career adventures, man. You gotta look at the guys in suits, man. I know CJ's not there yet. That man got a podcast and stuff. He's still doing his thing.
Yeah, but Danny Green's number 9.
Okay, I said Kyle Lowry earlier, so I gotta start thinking of guys like in that realm. Ooh, is Mike Conley on the list?
Number 8 at 36 years old. Still a starting point guard in the league too. Shout out to Mike Conley.
Let's freaking go, cause I ain't gonna lie. Those two players, bro, I ain't gonna lie. They like low key mirror each other in my eyes sometimes. Like I feel like I could get those guys mixed up if I didn't know that Kyle Lowry was like a Toronto legend and Mike Conley was like a Memphis legend.
Hey, look, man, those All-Star games that Kyle Lowry made plus the championship, give me him over Kyle Conley any day.
Yeah, facts.
So you're missing just 2 more guys. You're missing number 7 and is it number 7, number 8? You're basically missing number 7 and number 8, right?
Number 7 and number 8.
No, sorry, 6 and 7.
6 and 7. Okay. No, I can't ask for hints. That's kind of cheat code. We don't have any superstars left, I would assume. We have no former All-Stars left.
No, we do not.
Let's go down the road.
I'll tell you this, they're 2 guards.
Oh, okay, cool. That helps me a little bit because I was thinking
guards.
Brook Lopez for a hot little second because you remember them Brooklyn Nets days, boy.
He is number 21.
Ooh, shout out to Brook, man. Shout out to Brook. Still out here.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know who I know is old? Former Milwaukee Buck, the oldest man on those Orlando Magic, gotta be Joe Ingles. Got to.
I'm so sorry. He's number 11.
What?
Yeah.
That man is losing hair by the day.
He is like, funnily enough, he's like a month younger than McGee. He's like a month younger.
Yo, that's really pain. I was sure with that one, dude.
Nah.
Oh my God.
Think that though. It's just guys who have been around forever. I'm telling you right now, these guys, both of these guys have not played a lot of games. Number 6 has played 11 games total this year, coming off the bench, and you have a guy who's played like 5 games. Number 7.
Bro, that sounds like Joe though. All right, bet.
Hey, yo, Joe played like 22 games this year. He's still balling.
Oh, he's balling. Okay, he's hooping. You know, I'm keeping my tabs on. I'm keeping my tabs on Orlando, but let's be honest. It's about my boy Jalen Suggs right now. I'm kind of focused on the Jalen Suggs train at the moment. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's my guy right now.
Feel you.
Oh my God, who else is like up there, dude. Nicholas Batum?
He is just below Joe Ingles.
Dang it. Okay, wait. Is Wesley Matthews on the list?
Wesley Matthews, number 6.
Okay.
37 years old Wesley Matthews is. Honestly, that surprised me. For some reason, I thought Wesley Matthews was like 34, 35. This man's 37 years old.
But at the same time, bro, those OG early Trailblazers teams, that's a different demon, bro. That's a different demon.
So you're missing number 7 on this list. And honestly, this is probably the hardest one. But he's been like the ultimate journey. Like, you will only bring this guy into your team as a locker room presence. You not bring him in for his basketball. You bring him in as a locker room. Yeah, you bring him in as a locker room presence.
Bet.
He's played like meaningful minutes in years.
There's only 3 people that I can think of that qualify for this. We're gonna go down the list in order.
Yeah.
I know you said guard, so the first one's kind of wrong, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The first one that came up was DeAndre Jordan, just because of the description you gave.
Okay. No.
The second one I had was Ish Smith.
Not Ish Smith. By the way, DeAndre Jordan is like right up. It's like above Brook Lopez. I think he's like number 20. Cool. Ish Smith is like 26.
All right, bet. The third person has to be the answer. It's Garrett Temple.
It is Garrett Temple.
He has to be. He's been on the Nets, the Kings, Toronto. That man is literally just there to make sure there is peace. That is
the locker room.
Yeah, bro. That dude is literally there for peace and harmony, gang. Ain't no way. That dude. No, don't get me wrong. Definitely a solid backup point guard once upon a time. Definitely was in there. But like if Sean Livingston had like a shadow clone that was like a step below him, it's Garrett Temple, gang. Like, he's one of those people that, like, you just make sure he's on a roster because he's on the NFL Player Association. You got to make sure there's some peacekeeping. You got to make sure your books is clear. Come on, gang.
Oh, my gosh.
Garrett Temple has to be on an NBA team. It's like illegal if he's not before the age of 40, gang. It's just facts. I see this man has every jersey and then some. Like that dude, him and Ish Smith are in competition for who should be allowed to GM a team just off of pure games played alone game.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Being on a team for peace and harmony is wild.
Bro, dude, but think about it. Now I gotta look it up, bro. Garrett Temple been on mad teams, bro.
You know, on freaking Basketball Reference where you have all those jerseys, this man has there. Yeah,
bro,
this guy.
When you search Garrett Temple, the first thing that comes up is teams, bro. When you go into Google, you type in Garrett Temple, the first Google's fill-in is teams. This man has been everywhere. What the heck?
Looking down. He played on your Bulls for a minute.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. He was that was 2020, 2021. That was when we were like that was when the Lauri Markkanen trade like just happened, I think.
I think he's played on like 10 teams in 13 years. That's the definition of Garrett Temple right there.
Dude, I'm looking at this right now. The one team out of all of this that I 100% don't remember was him playing on Milwaukee. Like, he apparently played for San Antonio, Milwaukee, and Charlotte in the same year. Like, what the heck? Yo, shout out Garrett Temple, bro. God.
Shout out to Garrett Temple, man. I'm sorry you have to watch this trash Raptors team play every single night. But
he's got a front row seat too, gang. Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry you're a front row of seeing 5 for 32 every night, but we appreciate your presence in the locker room. But yeah, let us know down below what other quiz you want to see. That's a pretty damn good quiz. Let's see what we got for the next one. We have some good ones in store forward. But Jay, we have reached the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you guys for watching. What do you tell these beautiful people before we sign out?
Bro, we are post in-season tournament. The Lakers won the dang thing. The table is now reset. This has been a really interesting NBA season. Me and TV talked about it at the top of the show. A lot of players are going to be available on the trade market come December 15th. That means we're booting up the good old trade machine. The next episode you guys see is going to be trade machine galore. There's going to be a lot of fellas on the block, on the trade block, Open up your fanspo, make us some fake trades, send them to the DMs. We're going to start grading trades, making fake trades of our own. This is one of the most fun parts of the season, right? You come off of in-season tournament, and now you're waiting to put everybody in a new jersey. I'm hype. I'm not going to lie.
I'm hyped for it, man. I'm super excited for it. Again, we have so much stuff lined up for you, and you're going to be able to follow along if you follow the pod on, TikTok and Instagram. If you want to see all our content over there, our YouTube, like, share, subscribe, the podcast networks, we're everywhere for you guys. You can listen to us on all and any sort of medium possible. We appreciate all you guys' love and support. But yeah, this is the end of another episode. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. This is Jay signing out. This is TV signing out. Take it easy, guys.
Peace.